The organization you just joined has never had a member turn informant, not once in over a century, and now you understand exactly why. You're standing on a street in Calabria, the toe of the Italian boot, one of the poorest, most isolated regions in Western Europe, and simultaneously the headquarters of the most powerful criminal organization operating on Earth. The street is quiet. The houses are old stone, sun-bleached to the color of bone. A man outside a calf nods as you pass. You nod back. You don't know yet that he just confirmed your identity to someone watching from a second-floor window above. You were born into this, not chosen, not recruited, born. Your grandfather was a member. Your father is a member. The organization did not ask you if you wanted to join, in the same way the village did not ask you if you wanted to be born there. Membership is not a decision. It is a condition of existence. That is the first thing that makes the 'Ndrangheta unlike every other criminal organization in the world. The second thing is this. It has no headquarters, no single boss, no godfather in a chair. It is not a pyramid. It is a forest. Hundreds of autonomous family clans, each called an Andrina, each rooted in bloodline, each capable of operating independently and connecting globally. It controls an estimated 80% of cocaine entering Europe. Its annual revenue is estimated at $50 billion. It has operations on 6 continents, and almost no one in the English-speaking world can pronounce its name. How does something this powerful stay this invisible? And what does it cost a human being to be born into the center of it? This is a fictional, immersive POV built on Italian judicial proceedings, Europol documentation, and academic criminology. Not any specific individual's story. The structure it describes is documented. The silence that protects it is real. And it is running right now. Level 1. The Blood. You are 8 years old. You don't know the word Ndrangheta yet. No one in your family says it aloud. What you know is that your father is respected in a way other men in the village are not. A quality of deference in how people speak to him, how they step aside on the street, how a conversation changes register when he enters a room. You've noticed this since you were small enough to ride on his shoulders. You've never asked about it. You understood, without being told, that it was not a question. Your uncle drove 4 hours for a meeting that lasted 20 minutes and no one explained why. When he returned, the family had dinner and no one mentioned where he'd been. Your grandmother served the meal and crossed herself when she thought no one was watching. You were watching. You are always watching. You've been trained to watch by an environment that communicates everything through observation and nothing through direct speech. Academic criminologists, including Antonio Nicasso, one of the foremost scholarly authorities on the 'Ndrangheta, have documented how the organization's social grammar, learned in childhood, before any formal initiation, is itself a security mechanism. The not asking is not in curiosity. It is the first rule, absorbed before you were old enough to articulate it. Your father sits you down on your 9th birthday. The conversation is quiet. He tells you that your family has obligations, that obligations are what separate men from animals, that the family has always stood for something, that standing for something requires sacrifice. He does not tell you everything. He tells you enough. You nod. You don't fully understand. The nod is sufficient. You will spend the rest of your life discovering what you agreed to in that moment. The 'Ndrangheta's most powerful recruitment tool has never been money. It's been the fact that you were already inside before you were old enough to choose. Level 2. The Picciotto. The ceremony is at night, in a room you've never entered before. It's in a house at the edge of the village, a room with no windows and one door, and the kind of stillness that comes from the deliberate removal of distraction. The men present are men you've known your whole life. Your father, your uncles, cousins whose children you played with in the street outside your grandmother's house. But their faces tonight are not the faces you know at the dinner table. The formality is complete. The register of speech is different, older, more deliberate, drawn from a ceremonial tradition that predates the living memory of anyone in the room. Italian magistrate Nicola Grotteri, the leading judicial authority on the 'Ndrangheta, who has spent decades prosecuting the organization and whose name requires a security detail because of it, has documented these initiation rituals through wiretap evidence admitted in Italian court. Proceedings: a knife, a blood oath, a saint's image burned in the palm of the initiate's hand, symbolic language referencing the 3 Knights of Toledo, a mythology the organization constructed around honor, loyalty, and sacrifice to give criminality the weight of sacred obligation. Grottery has described these rituals as psychologically binding in a way that a secular criminal contract cannot replicate. What you are being asked to do is not sign an agreement. You are being asked to become something. When it's over, the oldest man in the room speaks to you. He tells you what loyalty means, not as an abstraction, but as a fact of operational reality. He tells you what happens to those who break it, not as a threat, but the way someone tells you about the consequences of walking off a cliff. The information is offered as physics, not warning. The men in this room would not need to enforce consequences. The community itself would. You have been a member of the community your entire life. There is no version of betrayal that your mind can construct that doesn't also destroy everyone you have ever loved. That is not a cage. That is a worldview. It was built into you before you could read. You are now a Picciotto. You have no idea yet what you've joined. You have every idea what you've left. Level 3. The Camarista. Your territory is 3 streets and a market. You know every business owner by name. You grew up with their children. The conversations you have with them are not threatening. They're almost warm. You ask about families, about summers, about how business has been. At the end of the conversation, an envelope changes hands. This happens every month. It has happened every month for longer than anyone can remember. Longer than the oldest person in this village can trace it back. Woven so deeply into the economic fabric of the place that the business owners don't think of it as extortion. They think of it as the cost of operating in a place where the organization is the actual functioning government. Italian government records document that over 30 Calabrian municipal councils have been dissolved by the Interior Ministry for 'Ndrangheta infiltration since the 1990s. Entire town governments dismantled because the boundary between the organization's authority and the states had become unmappable. In those municipalities, the 'Ndrangheta did not replace the state. It was the state, had been for so long that the concept of replacement no longer applied. The violence that enforces this isn't visible, because it almost never needs to occur. When everyone understands the consequences and everyone is embedded in the relationships that make those consequences real, the system maintains itself. That is not a feature of the 'Ndrangheta's operation. It is the operation. A new business opens. A man from outside the region who doesn't know the rules, or has decided to test whether the rules apply to someone from somewhere else. You are sent to explain. The conversation is polite, brief. He pays. But before he looks down at the envelope, there is a fraction of a second in which you see something in his face. Not anger. Fear. The specific fear of someone who has just understood what kind of world they have entered. And in that fraction of a second, you see yourself from the outside for the first time. What you look like to someone who didn't grow up here. What you represent. It takes you several weeks to stop thinking about it. The most effective criminal organization in the world doesn't look like crime from the inside. It looks like order. The only people who see it clearly are the ones who didn't grow up in it, and they don't stay long enough to say so. Level 4. The Scarista. Your first trip outside Calabria is to Rotterdam. You are not there to move anything yourself. That would be inefficient and expose more than is necessary. You're there to be present, to represent. In a business where no contract is enforceable in court, where no dispute resolution mechanism exists outside the organization itself, a man's word is only as good as the weight of the name behind it. Your family name carries weight that no document could replicate. You fly in, check into a hotel near the port, drink coffee in the bar, and wait for a text. The text arrives the following afternoon. The message is 3 words. You fly home. 40 tons of cocaine are now in Europe. Italian anti-mafia prosecutors and Europol assessments have established that the 'Ndrangheta controls an estimated 80% of cocaine entering Europe, routed primarily through the port of Gioia Tauro in Calabria, one of the largest container ports in the Mediterranean, handling thousands of containers daily, which is precisely what makes it effective. The organization's relationships with South American producers are direct, bilateral, and conducted at senior levels, decades-long business relationships that predate the current generation of leaders on both sides. European-wide operations have confirmed 'Ndrangheta cocaine networks operating across Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Australia, and beyond. The infrastructure is not new. It is not improvised. It is older than most of the governments trying to dismantle it. A Europol operation flags a container at the port, not yours, a competitor's. but the flag means increased scrutiny across all shipments for the following months. You call home. The voice that answers is calm, unhurried, and entirely unconcerned. The response you receive is procedural, a set of adjustments, a shifted timeline, an alternative routing through a different port using a different set of documentation. The organization has been moving contraband through Calabria since before container shipping existed. Your anxiety is noted. It is considered unnecessary. The 'Ndrangheta has been running this infrastructure since before the word logistics existed. You are not running an operation. You are maintaining something that was ancient when your grandfather joined. Level 5.